All right. Hello. We are almost 3, 2, 1 live. Hi, everybody. Hello. Happy Thursday. Today is Mimosa Hotline. And as always, you have Ronnie Bartles, our business strategist, and myself, Ashley Rhoda, your brand strategist. And it is our joy and pleasure to come on here and just share our experience, expertise, what's going on in our worlds, and how we are planning to expand this little awesomeness that we've started as a passion project into more of a formal podcast, video, audio awesomeness. So why don't we start with that? Ronnie, we have a little bit of an announcement that we want to tell them. Do you want to share?
Yeah. So as we're kind of growing this and we have a few ideas, our first step was actually we created its own Facebook page for Mimosa Hotline. And part of the reason for that is we are taking this bigger. And so it's kind of like evolving into its own thing, but also as an easier way for people to find us and watch us live. Because I know that it's really hard for me to say, go follow Ashley so that we can do it live because it's on your page. And just because I'm like, yeah, go follow.
Well, that's how we started. Lady. It was just out of
how we started.
It was, I was doing more live, so we just played it off.
Totally easy. But it's hard to like get your link and send it to people and be like, you have to hit the follow button. It's a thing. But now we have its own Facebook page, and so we can go live on the page, and it's like its own little like thing. And it's just easier for us to be able to tell people how to get there. So I think I'm hoping by next week we'll be able to go live there and just direct people there. And so, it's getting its own like look and feel and branding and all the fun stuff. So that's kind of the first step. And then a website will be next.
Yes, we are going formal and official and branded and fun and making it easier, as you said, but just making it easier for everybody to know where to go, where to watch, make it easy. And then we
subscribe,
have even more
listen.
So all of you that have been so amazing watching us this far, and you amazing humans that scroll through my feed trying to find all the episodes, now you won't have extra things in between. You're just going to have a place for you to be in Mimosa Hotline
world.
Thanks. Yeah. I was like, what? I was like, extravaganza. I was like, I don't know. I don't have a word. So we'll make it a lot easier for everybody. And we are also open. I'm sure you would agree to this, but we're really open to your feedback too. Let us know what's working, what isn't, what you like, what you want more of. We have a whole new idea to break down the show for episodes every month and things, and it'll be really fun. So we're excited. So we'll remind you again at the end, but to dive in even two things, Ronnie, you were also sharing that you had an opportunity recently to talk about long form content. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Sure. So how this came about was I actually was on a podcast yesterday that I was doing a podcast interview, because I've talked about this a gazillion times. I do a lot of podcast interviews because that's my marketing strategy for me. And she was another marketer. Her name's Elena Scarsala. And I'll put her link in the show notes. She has a super cool podcast, about soulpreneurs, and it was a lot of fun. But she also is a marketer, and she's kind of a content creation marketer, but in more systematic, which appeals to me, obviously, because I think marketing is science. And we got into a really interesting conversation about content creation, because I know that you, me, probably
everyone,
solidly 90% of the people that are going to watch this, one of their biggest challenges is content creation, because it is so freaking time consuming. Like, I spent 6 hours one day on a freaking email. Like, do I really have time for that? Like it takes an hour to do an Instagram story. Like, it just takes a lot of time. And so we kind of got on this conversation about like content creation. And one thing that she talked about, we kind of were also trying to talk about like, how can we create like people can create like simple funnels for people to like learn about their work or buy from them and those kinds of things. And so she was saying that with her clients, she kind of systemizes content creation and doing one long form piece of content, which is like a longer blog post that's 2,000 words or more. So it's a big piece, more like an essay, like once a week or once a month, and then taking that big piece and breaking it down into the smaller pieces for distribution. So the big piece lives on your blog. It does multiple things in, showing your expertise, but also for SEO and all of those things. But as in from a distribution perspective, you break it down into smaller chunks to distribute across all your platforms. And then you can keep using that for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so you just repurpose that same content. And, we really were talking about, how she has found with all of her clients, that's the best strategy she's had for marketing distribution for any one of her clients. And I was giving her the example of when I worked for Bookful. What we did for our marketing strategy was every week we wrote a long form piece of content for the blog because we wanted the SEO keywords. And so kind of what we did, we would go out into Facebook groups that were in our space. We were in vacation rental. So we go into vacation rental owner groups because they were always asking questions of other owners. And we kind of like compile all these questions, and then we'd write blog posts that basically answer people's questions. And for every blog post, it was probably around 2,000 words. We created an infographic or some sort of downloadable that summarized that blog post in exchange for an email. So every piece had its own downloadable. And then we took that blog post and distributed it across all of our platforms, Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and, everything that we had. And in comparison to that, in that job, I also had a $7,500 a month ad budget, like huge ad budget, which was totally amazing. And I realized most people don't have that, but it was like, I've never worked with anybody that had that much money for ads, but it was awesome. So I got to play with it a lot. And I was telling her in that situation, I had $7,500 for ads that would hopefully convert. My long form blog post always outperformed ads.
Interesting.
The organic long form blog posts that we then broke up and distributed always outperformed any ads. And so, after a while, I did start to like change my budget in that, within that $7,500, because I had a lot of money. I would like actually put some money then behind those blog posts to kind of help boost those, the ones that performed really well. I would boost those then with some ad money once I figured out that was the strategy that worked best.
I love that. I know that the market has gone through different seasons of this, for a while, it was like before podcasts, everybody had a blog, and now we have podcasts, and we have like different evolutions of things. What are you seeing? Are you seeing that the long form is coming back versus say like the tweet era that we went through where everything was short form and everything was like, I don't know, like,
well, I think it depends. So really kind of the point of long form on your blog is people don't really read blogs like they used to.
It's more for the SEO and keywords.
It really is a lot more for the SEO and keywords, but then you also then can use it for short form, right? Like, so it's
more about repurposing is the focus.
It's more exactly. And
I love like from the long form, what we can get are, if it's, this long, you can take it and make it into what's appropriate for Instagram or Facebook or something shorter. And then you can take quotes from that and make it a quote graphic or a meme or whatever. Or you could, as you said, the infographics, great example too. There's so many different ways that you can repurpose that. And I'm curious what your definition is on repurposing. Is repurposing where it's like you're chunking it down into different bits like that, or is it that you're taking it from one platform and posting it on another platform the same thing? I laugh because I feel like people will say both of those are repurposing.
I was going to.
I know about that. I was like, let's go there. What's this?
I know that's not really a great answer, and it's one of those, when people like you ask them a question and then they answer with a question and you're like, God damn it.
Let's do it.
Like I feel like I just gave you that answer.
Okay.
But repurposing really is kind of twofold. Yes, it is kind of taking that piece and chunking it down for distribution into smaller pieces on other platforms. You're repurposing it from your main spot into other platforms, but then also repurposing, because it's still the same content, it's just smaller. But then you also repurpose, like from, let's say, a year from now, you can go back to that blog post and update it and repurpose it again, because it might still, the topic might still be relevant, particularly if it's not time sensitive.
Totally.
That topic can be relevant, and you can update it to be like, here was the, 2023 version. And in 2024, we have some new research or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you like update it. Google loves that.
Make it relevant again.
Right. And Google loves that for SEO. And so
Yeah.
you can repurpose it in that way too. So like I did this yesterday, I went through my Instagram because I tend to write on Instagram before I will other places. And I went through my Instagram and I like pulled off a bunch of content that I'd written there. And I was like, I'm going to put this in an email tomorrow, So like you just repurpose it in other places. I did have to like tweak it a little bit for the platform so that it made better sense, but
I have to say my favorite one that you've done recently, and I was a little jealous and a little like, what? So every time we go with, Mimosa Hotline, we like to announce it and say going live tomorrow or whenever and whatever. And so I'm always trying to like, write a little caption for it and do it. And then you, badass, go and like share. And I'm always sharing yours on Instagram. So I do this too. But what was the best part? It was my Facebook post and you shared it because you don't like being on Facebook. And you go, what she said. And I was like, damn it, like that. I have wanted to do that so many times, but felt inclined to like write a thing for it. And I was like, damn it, like that. I was mad. I was like, oh, it's amazing. But even that's repurposing. And it's like, it doesn't have to be hard. We don't have to recreate the wheel when we say something genius that, needs to be reiterated. And that was part of my week too, is like repetition. I'm sure you feel the same way. And I'm sure everyone watching this in your zone of genius feels this way, that like, are we all just like repeating ourselves? Like, I swear I say this stuff every day or daily. And it's like, how do people not know? But at the same time, like you're talking to individuals and I get that, but like, oh my gosh. And
it's interesting. Like that even came up in our podcast yesterday about, being repetitive, and statistically people have to see things 20 times before they actually remember them. And so I think this happens with people with marketing, regardless of what field you're in. Like start to market something, a launch, whatever it might be, some sort of campaign. And it gets boring to us because we keep repeating it and repeating it. And we've
heard it 1,000 times.
Right. And I'm like,
fresh for someone else. Yeah,
exactly. And I'm like, I am like tired of hearing myself talk about this.
I know.
But nobody else has
I feel
heard you.
rude. I feel rude. Like I genuinely feel rude. Like I'm like telling it to you over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then I'm all upset over here. But y'all, it's your first time. And I need to like chill.
It's perspective. Yeah.
But I'm like,
that happens a lot. Yeah, that happens a lot.
You know what? I also love having the platform that I have, and I'm happy to repeat myself as many times as long as it helps people. But like, sheesh.
I know. It gets boring for us, but most people haven't even seen it one time yet.
And then sometimes it's like, yeah. And then sometimes I'm like, what do I need to be repeating? What needs to be said over and over again? And am I saying the right things? All of that. Oh my gosh. The other thing that I got really excited about, I don't know. I think it was an Instagram post, actually. There was a woman speaking to the effect of the difference between copy and content. I feel like many of us use those interchangeably. And I want a pop quiz just to make sure I learn this right. Copy is more with the intention of conversion, and content is more with the intention of like engagement and likes and hearts and things. So when we say copy, we often refer to things on a website because the website has the intention of converting clients. But when we say content, that's like social media content where we're trying to engage with our audience, get them used to raising their hands and liking, hearting, doing what we say, such as go to the new Facebook page for Mimosa Hotline, like, subscribe, get all of your juiciness there. Am I correct in that? Did I say that? Because I think that's another thing for you to like speak more on too.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on that. Like, content is just creation. Like this is content. Like everything kind of is content that you say, you write, you do, even if you're doing a lip syncing reel that, I know. I know.
Anyways,
but it works for some people. I mean, and some people love it just because it's fun, and it works for some people. To each their own, but that is content. Whereas copy is kind of an art form because it's written very specifically with, you talk about the psychology of color, but there's the psychology of words too. And like, it's written with a very in purpose of either converting or getting a point across or messaging. And it is different in that regard. And so, I'm
It's
going to sound,
strategic writing.
yeah, and I'm going to sound brash when I say this, but anybody can create content.
Yes.
Copywriters create copy. Like
Right.
there's
also,
kind of it's a skill to it.
Yeah. And you said a really big thing there, copywriters. So
Right.
like when you're hiring a VA or a virtual assistant, that's not a copywriter. They maybe have great grammar and they can write things, but that's
great
not
writer.
a trained, skilled copywriter.
And
those are individual people. I think that's another thing I want to quick side tangent, if I may. I know I'm interrupting you, but
no, you're fine.
Side tangent is knowing the people that you're hiring. Even this week, I had somebody ask me for a logo maker, which with respect to what she was asking, she was very nervous about it. She was like, I know you do this. I'm not trying to like, ask. You're the only person I know that'll tell me this. I'm looking for a logo maker. And I was like, I giggle because I appreciate that she took the chance to be vulnerable and ask for what she needed. And it's a graphic designer, and so giving her that terminology. So she knew when she was hiring somebody that, she's not getting something wrong, but logo designers don't exist. I mean, they do, like
logo makers. I mean, they
logo
do.
makers. Thank you. I was like, logo
in a
makers
software, you can get a software that's
graphic designers are, copywriters are a thing. And actually, we're looking for some too right now. I just spoke with one earlier this week, actually, and she was a copywriter. Her background was in marketing and agency world, but she was a copywriter, and that was her primary focus. And it's more than just grammar and spell checking your work. It's hashtag, back in the day of hashtags, keyword search, conversion language. It's psychographics, which is like so we've heard of demographics, which are like where they live, how old they are, what the income is, but psychographics is how they think, how they behave, what they look for, what triggers them, what their pain points are. It's psychographics. So they're schooled in that as well, and just a source. So if you're needing copy, go to a copywriter and use that vendor specifically. Even a website developer is not a copywriter. Let's get that too. Website developers build the site. They might put the copy on the site, but they're not a copywriter. Now, some claim to be in. You got to vet them. I mean, maybe they are.
Maybe they are.
Matata, but
exactly. Yeah.
As you were saying.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was done saying what I was done saying.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, we kind of like we hit the point. Yeah. No, we hit the point on that as it needed to be hit with content creation. But I'm going to go back to the point, because it's going to be a nice segue into the topic that you wanted to talk about a little bit, about being consistent with your messaging. So you said something interesting about like which pieces of which messaging do I need to be repeating all the time? Like, how do I pick that?
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
And I think that this is definitely a branding issue of sorts, because your brand messaging needs to be the thing that you repeat all the time. Yours is live by design, not default, or whatever the saying is. I think I think I have it backwards, but
no, you're right. It's live by design, not the original prompt was, are you living by default or design? But now we're playing with live by design. And then also branding is something to be, not something to do.
Exactly.
So we're getting all of our words there.
Yeah. And like, mine is marketing is a science. So like,
so when you're saying that, it's your unique perspective that should be repeated over and over again, not necessarily industry standards or things that we know.
And I think that is particularly when you do brands for people, and because your brands are more than just being a logo maker, like those are the things like that you pull out of people, as far as like their values and their mission statement, their vision statement, and those kinds of things, which are messaging things that are very brand centric. Those are the things you should be repeating all the time.
Your brand position, your brand's like what you stand for. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, that's the the voice of who you are, and like the platform that you stand on, that I think is the thing. Campaigns can be repeated for the campaign, right? Like you can have a launch, and like your launch is specific to, say, a product that's a pain point, and you can repeat that messaging over and over again for the launch. Yeah. But your brand messaging sticks with you the whole time, and that's something you have to repeat all the time.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I guess it is on the brand side. That's interesting. For a second there, honestly, first thought, I was like, oh, this is a marketing problem. But no, you're right. It's an identity problem. It is a brand problem. And problem's the thing. It's a brand element. Let me put it that way. Of the position you take. And as you said, it's the values that you bring to the table, or how you do your work with the values. Like yesterday, I had a moment of integrity come up. I was talking to somebody that is working with one of my, I guess you would call her a colleague. I think for what I want to say here, I'm not going to share her name, but I will at another time, because I do honor this woman. Like, she's good at what she does. And she's been in the industry for a very long time. And the person was asking me things, and I was like, absolutely. But I actually supported her. I was like, if you're already working with so-and-so, I'm going to just call her Betty Boop for now. Just because I need a name here. But like, if you're working with Betty Boop, then like, here's like, I kind of almost coached on her behalf. I was like, okay, so what I hear you say is you want this, this, and this. She should be capable of doing that. I know you signed up for this service that she's offering, but like, go back to her and ask for these things, And she's like, but what if I want to work with you? And I was like, yes. And like, I want that, but like, out of integrity, I'm not looking to poach business or anything like that. What I would love for you to do is ask her, see if she's willing to do that, capable, wants to do it, whatever. And if not, then absolutely come back and maybe we can tag team or something. But like, one of my values of integrity got just an opportunity, like some people would have poached that business immediately. And some people would have like talked ill of Betty Boop and been like, oh, well, she has her way, but her way was what spoke to you first. So I actually kind of supported her way. And she is one that uses personality tests, which I don't. And I kind of, gave her own pitch. I was like, based on your personality archetype that she gives you, look into that and present it like this to her. I gave her more work. Now, mind you, I don't always agree with that. And I see where it's going to fall short for this person. But, at the same time, like, what, you got started on a journey, trust it to the end and see where it gets you. And then like, there are elements that I can fill in that I don't even think Betty Boop does. So like, it's a thing, but there's integrity in that. So the values are a big thing of like what you stand for, how you do the work, and how you show up. But you're right. Like, we could talk to 100 marketers and they'd all say marketing is a different thing in a different way, right? Yours is it's a science, not an art. I love that. And that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, so those are the things we have to repeat all the time.
Yeah.
And they do get boring. I mean,
but that's a good reminder.
It's a good reminder that like those are your brand positioning, that your platforms that you're passionate about, like the reasons that you started in this business and this journey.
I actually call those the brand perspectives. It's like those little nuggets that are like that person's thought, or it's not just taglines, it's not just their one-liners, but it's like their perspective of a thing. Does that make sense? I mean, I named it, made sense to me. I was like, it's the brand's perspective, how it thinks and its perspective of this topic or industry or what service. Right. But we actually put that in the messaging section of the brand binder. We have like a whole vernacular where I go through the discovery that we've done, and I'm picking out like the keyword, and keywords is not the right word, but it is like the unique vocabulary, the way that they say things. And I make a little vocabulary list for them because they don't know, but you don't know because it's the way you speak, but for someone else, they can kind of pick it up. You did this for me recently. You highlighted a document I was working on, and it was the best feedback to be like, oh, look at that. And then I went back through and I actually, in a different color, highlighted everything I thought was brandese, like legalese, brandese, like it's my brand. And I was like, that word's over branded, that word's over branded. Cause it's like a term I use in my branding, but I don't think actually made sense, if that makes sense. Like, I was like, okay, like once you're in my world, you know it, but I don't think the first person they know, like persona perspective, for example, that's one, like if you know me, you know it. And you're like, oh my God, that's one of my favorite things she does. But to a new person, they're going to be like,
it's not a standard brand industry term.
Yeah. And it's not, and nobody's heard of it, and it's my thing. And it's like anyways, yes. So this is so good. I love this. Did I do my thing? You also called me out that I have a tick when you say really smart things, and I hope I did, because this is one of those. Ooh, or whatever I do.
Yeah, you do. You're like, Yeah.
So fun fact for everybody that doesn't understand why we're giggling about this. When we go back and watch the shows, Ronnie puts it on like double time and then waits for me to do some tick I have that she knows, oh, that must have been a good thing because Ashley did her thing.
Yeah, you're always like ooh or ah or something like that. Or you say, I have goosebumps, look. That's the other one.
Yeah.
That's how I know. That was smart. I need to relook at that. Whatever happened.
Yeah.
That was good.
For her to get an ooh and ah or goosebumps. Yep. Okay, that's me. Yeah. But like, again, that's the thing, that you need someone outside to see your mannerisms as much as you need someone outside to see those brand details that are what make you unique in this situation, or the things that are repeatable, or as I would say, iconic. So I love that.
Yeah.
As we're talking about repetition, can I just dive straight into mine? Because
yes, please.
We need to talk. I feel like there's this thing. I don't even know how I even want to get into this. It's like a catch-22 moment. Like, I don't expect people to know this, but I also expect them to know this. Sorry. Like I don't know how, because this morning when I was bitching about it in my journal, I was like, okay, but where the hell did you learn it? And I was like, how did I learn this? I genuinely want to give myself credit for like falling forward and failing forward when I learned this. And what I'm talking about is the branding process. So when I built my brand, this is my favorite thing, is like when people ask me who designed my logo. Y'all, I did. I wasn't a graphic designer. It wasn't a logo maker. It wasn't a magical fairy. I freaking designed my own logo. Thank you so much. Anyhow, this was when I was a wardrobe stylist, right? And I was not a brand strategist at that point. And I was trying to build my own brand, and of course, like many people, I kind of had the name is where it first started. I first got the name. For a long time, it was just going to be Details, but that's actually a men's clothing magazine. So that didn't work. And I needed another word or a variation. And I'll give credit, which I never do. My mother actually came up with the iconic part of it.
I didn't know that.
We were talking on one of her lunch breaks and I was like, Mom, I'm stuck. I've got this business. It's all about the details. And she's like, I get that. And she's like, but what do the details do? And I was like, it creates this identity where they're not like anybody else. And she's like, well, that's kind of iconic. What if you call it iconic details? And I was like, well, shit, that's amazing.
I didn't know that story.
Swear.
Awesome.
So she's responsible for the iconic part. And also, if ever anyone had an opportunity to meet her, she's very iconic. She's one of those like elegant women that just dressed well, had that aura to her. She's very, very elegant, but I would also say iconic. When she was younger, she was very into fashion and she'd always have like the new trend and be doing crazy things. And my dad like loved it and supported it, but it was probably a little weird too, because like, it was ahead of her time and like Vogue and everything. Right. And also she was a flight attendant back when it was like prestigious and they would go to the Charm Farm and like, it was a whole thing. It was crazy. They called it the Charm Farm, where they learned like etiquette and serving and high tea and all. Yeah. So she came up with the name. Then I was creating my logo, or the mark, the design that we all know. And I knew it had to visually represent the name and what I was doing. Now, I guess I knew that just inherently, intuitively. I don't know. Nobody told me that. I just knew the look had to visually represent the thing, like basically. And so I did that. Then I had somebody help me build a website. And that was interesting because when I went through the process, they used a lot of stock imagery. I never had a photo shoot before. So they had a lot of stock imagery and they kind of had like a template website where, because it was my first, they were like, this is an about page, write me a chunk to go here about you. So I said about thing. It was not copy. It was me writing.
Yep. That's how most first websites are.
Right? My like autobiography gone wrong. And then, is that the right term? Autobiography, like when while you're alive and then, okay, cool.
Yes.
And then we are still blonde, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta check when I use big words. And then we go and then it's, the services, what are you offering? And I just like tell the person, they kind of makeshift the like title, blurb, price. Like it was very basic. And then contact page was like no more than like my business card, but like websited.
Right.
And then it took me meeting a few photographers, you know, Brittany Gardner, Kelly Mooney, oh gosh, oh no, brain fart. She's fabulous. Last name starts with a B, first name starts with K, and I cannot think of this name right now. Oh my God, she's gonna kill me. Anyways, I might have to look that up. Anyways, that's gonna drive me nuts all day long. I will be back with that name in the notes for everybody. Anywho,
You're so flustered right now. It's cute.
I know. Thanks. She even printed off one of my photos, and she helped with two of the other shoots. Oh my God, this is embarrassing. Whatever, it's recorded too. Yep. I'll get that to you later.
Welcome to our world.
All of the photo, I was very blessed. Luckily I did modeling back in the day. So some of them just wanted to use me, and then they'd offer like, hey, at the end of the shoot, I'll take a couple of pictures for you. And they were very nice. Then I ended up getting like full blown shoots with them. We would do branding shoots, and I was very blessed by all the photographers. They're like walking gods in my opinion, because they're just so generous, and they've taught me a lot about creative direction, because you have to like direct a shoot, and there's so many moving pieces. Anyways, my point is that's how I kind of learned it. But then through building it for other people and realizing how to get everything you needed in the right order, it almost reminds me of the thing I hate most, cooking. It's like you've got to go to the store, you need to know your recipe, you need to know your ingredients, you need to know how to put all said ingredients in to make said thing. And I'm watching people, and it's like, they're so weird. Like, they're just like, well, I have flour. Can't we make the cake? I'm like, no, there's like eggs and milk and sugar and all this other stuff that I shouldn't even know, but I know that needs to be a part of this. And they're like, but I have flour. And I'm like, is this where we get into brute force? And I just like, no, you backhand you? Like, I don't know. So this week it came up twice, and this is very vague, so I'm not picking on anyone, but it was just this reminder, and I'm pulling up my notes here. Yeah, so I have somebody, now she's kind of like me in the sense of when I started, so I'm just letting her be. She has been, she's experienced others that haven't done good work for her, so I'm trying to give her a little bit of grace here, but she's looking for a logo maker, aka a graphic designer. Yeah. And she has a vision in her mind, and she's like, I don't want somebody that just pulls pieces together and makes a logo. I want them to like sketch my idea. And I'm like, great, let's do that. But she's like, yeah, I know, I really want to work with you, Ashley. I'm super excited. Like, I want to do the brand thing, but like, I want to start with the logo. And I'm like, okay, I'm not picking on her. What I want to use is this as an example, that the logo is supposed to be a symbol or an icon that visually represents the entire business. So my only fear is, will it work? And I can't answer that until we've done the work to say if it does or not. So for example, what if this brand becomes very militaristic and masculine, and she's got a flower? Right. What am I going to do with that? Like, I could change the illustration of it or the execution of how the flower is drawn, maybe to be more militaristic and masculine. Fine, so be it. Now that's not her brand, but you see what I'm saying? Like, there's kind of like, and then they're going to ask me, what do you think? And I'm like, I have no idea. You've given me no context to work with. Like, you got what you wanted, but this is where it's interesting. And then my other friend who, she has just had so much fabulousness happen in her life. She's been married. She went on a honeymoon. She took 2 months off. She's kind of reviving the business, as she says, resetting it. And she's like, I really want to work on the messaging and the website, but I think I'm going to start with the website. Now, after I just shared this whole idea of like photos, words, outline, pages, what's going to go on that site, my friend?
If you don't have
so
the
then
messaging,
I sit there like, should I say it? Should I not? And I was like, you know what, say it. So then I shared with her, I said, I would actually encourage you to focus first on the messaging and this copy and content that you want, so you have a clear voice and things you want to say for when you go to the website, because that's where you put these words and thoughts and ideas. She's like, oh, you know what? I never thought of it like that. That's really smart. Thank you. And I'm like, absolutely. And I'm not trying to imply people are stupid. No one is stupid. This is just a process. And so I was thinking, maybe if I could, I just want to explain the branding process in 3 steps, because when I say it to people, they're like, oh my God, no one ever said that. So let me be the one that will repeat this for eternity. Discovery, creation, integration. So discovery, it's not sexy, but that's the interview process. That's where someone should be interviewing you, asking you questions, pulling information out of you. Everything from your background, how you got to where you are, how you know what you know, who your clients are, what the service is, what the experiences you want to offer, what are the details that you think represent the essence of your business. You're really trying to like capture, like Ghostbusters, you're trying to capture the essence of the business, right? Then once you have that, then creation, then all of the fun stuff. The logo needs to visually represent all of the data from the discovery. The website needs to visually represent all of that. The what else do you guys like? Logos, websites, business cards need to represent that. Creation should be inspired by this. If you don't have that, then you're just going to be fragmented and frustrated because like each piece you made, but it doesn't have cohesion together. And then integration is where, okay, we've got all the data, we've got all the pretty bits, and now we put it all together into things like a photo shoot. The way it goes into a photo shoot is what props are you using? What outfits are you styling? What poses are you making? It goes into a website and the photography is there. The color palette is there. You know what theme to choose because it's not from thousands. There's only a few that would fit the creative direction.
Right.
And then it goes into honestly every detail. So right now we're working on one client, we're building freebies, we're building a YouTube channel. You and I are building the most, a hotline. We've already done a lot of the discovery on the back end for ourselves, but now we're actually doing the creative. We just made some and we're going to tweak it and refine it because we saw it in integration and we're like, not right. So we're going to change that. Right. So if anybody remembers anything, it's discovery, then creation, then integration. It's not creation, discovery, and then integration. Like you're going to be spending your money twice. And so I thank you for letting me rant on that, but I'm just like,
well,
I gotta say this, and who is it saying this?
Well, and I think too, the other piece of that is particularly new business owners, they come into it and they don't know or think about the branding process. And they're just like, I need a logo.
Yeah, they think that the website's going to sell it for them. And that's the other thing too. I'm going to say something that no one's going to want to hear, but branding can have the effect of being lipstick on a pig. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. If this fits you, I'm genuinely sorry. But if you're shit at what you do, it only brings more attention, more light, more focus, and it's like putting lipstick on a pig. So you want to be mindful of that. And I'm not calling newbies launchers, somebody that's launching your business. You're not a pig. You just don't know yet. This isn't even relevant. I'm talking to people 2-3 years down the line that should know this and are doing it backwards because they want it fast and they want to sell their next offer. They want to do their next membership. They want to do their next course, but oh no, I've got to get this fast. And you're right. Like I was writing that too. This one got a little spicy. Warning, everybody. I was like, Fiverr is going to give you fast and affordable results. Do what I say. No strategy, no content. It's like a vending machine of variable assets. You want a logo, get a logo. You want a banner, get a banner. Like they don't really think past what they've been
given.
Yeah, like it's a bid. Like do this. Okay, I did that. They're not strategic, they're not invested in you, they just are doing a deliverable and getting it out. Then designer, though, it's a creative process, strategically collaborating with specialists that get you custom and personalized results. So I love what you said. You're like, you're not just a logo maker. Thank you. I feel like sometimes people think I'm just a walking vending machine of logo assets. Like I don't know what they would pull, but like, you know, ka-ching, logo, ka-ching, color palette, ka-ching, website, like it's like creative injustice. I don't know. There was another word that started with an R, but I don't want to say that out loud. So like, don't use that. Like, that's not nice. And So I think though, if people also kind of got it in order, the other thing I will say, this is like invaluable knowledge to know this, but all the design, the creative part, the way you do it in order is then first you design the color palette, because that's the psychology of color. Those colors actually have meaning. Like I'm working with one woman where it's an orange and pink colors, and she needs to be very specific. The tones, meaning like magenta or pale pink, those tones actually have different meanings. So you need to know the psychology of color, then go to the font selection. The font, or the people need to know font. If you don't know font, then I can't help you. But the fonts or typography have personality. That too needs to reflect the business. So colors, then fonts, then textures. Everyone misses this part.
Yeah.
Here's $1,000 idea that you've all never heard but missed. Texture, like whatever the texture is, texture, then go to logo design, then go to photography, then go to graphic design. Maybe there's other graphics. Like I have my persona girl that we digitized, right? Like I have this one, the money. I'm going to cover up this part, but the money, right? We digitized this, but that's the order it needs to go. People pay me thousands of dollars to do it in order and save them exponentially more because they've done pieces that don't fit together. And then my job is kind of, I have to fix what was done wrong and then do it right. And then keep the elements so that you feel like you didn't lose any of your investment, but secretly I need to throw it all out and start from scratch. And I don't want to do that, you know? And of course, business is when we all get started. We get a logo, we go to Fiverr, we do our thing, we set up Facebook pages, we do our thing. And now you have this brand that you outgrow. That's natural progression. Like when you outgrow it, I'm not looking at it like you did anything wrong. I'm looking at it like you're at least 3 in your business. You now have clarity, you have more brand perspective, you have more brand understanding, and now we can enhance and elevate it to the level that will make it a legacy forever.
Right.
It's also, that's part of it too. So if you went in and invested with Fiverr stuff for the first 2 years, you're doing it right. But if you're post year 3 and you're coming to me, then I have some raised eyebrows for you. That's all.
Well, and I think it's to, you know, that point of, do you have a hobby or do you have a business?
Ooh,
That's your tick right there.
an extra special tick. Ooh.
I mean, I think like a lot of this comes down to that, right? Like it's totally fine. I understand there are, you know, budget constraints. Like when you're starting out, like you really don't have a lot of money. And I 100% understand that. I've used Fiverr for things before, things that I've needed. It happens, you know, like it happens. But
we've all gone to Walmart and still shop at, you know.
Right. You know, and so I think though, if you really can appreciate the branding process, and even though you have done that or need to do that, at least thinking about, okay, well, if I'm working this process, I need to even be able to give that person even better feedback so that they give me a little bit better of what I want.
Oh, that's a good point too. Yeah.
You know, like
be able to direct your people. If there is not a sign outside illuminated in the lights that say psychic, they're not a psychic.
Not.
Now, some of my people often think I am because I'm stupid intuitive, but no.
Lots of people are not. Like
I just connect the dots of the information you give me. And I know that's true for both of us. We would actually rather you give us more information than less. Even if you dump it on us, it's better because we can piece through and find the details that we need.
Now I can't do it for myself.
Nope. And that's a thing that people need to understand too. We're not so arrogant sitting on these high towers saying like, look at all of you. We can't, we're saying it because this is the reason the industry exists. And I hired Michael, I've hired you, I've hired friends, not friends, that's a no-no. But colleagues, different people, you know, that was the other thing, that trigger. One of them is like, oh, my husband he's an IT guy, but he helps me with my website. Shit. Okay. So now I'm going to have to, if she becomes a client, then like I'm working with you, but I'm actually getting 2 clients because I'm working with you. And then now I have to tell your husband how to be a website developer. And then what if he can't do all the things we need him to? Then what? Like, and have you heard that though, where like my daughter's boyfriend wrote this copy for me, or my so-and-so's second uncle twice removed is a strategic something or other. And I'm like, I know there's other us's out, or I know there's other people that do what we do out there, but like, not everyone is related to every part of this process.
I mean, to be honest, like the people that I have worked with that are like that, they tell me that they have somebody in their family or a friend that does this, but yet they're coming to me to hire me.
I know.
So I'm like, obviously you don't trust them that well because you've come to me to hire me.
And sometimes I wonder, I'm going to say something. Oh, here's my thing. I'm going to say something I don't think I should say, but I'm going to tell you that's actually a
safe space
for me. I know, safe space. Okay, here it is. When somebody tells me, I have a friend that does that, it's actually telling me that you're not being truthful in the results of where the company is at. Because if you say, oh, I'm making, 50K or more in a business, yet you're hiring your husband, brother, sister, twin, whomever, twice removed and getting it for free, you're playing hobby, not business owner.
Now, I do know husband and wife. I know. I will say there is an exception. I do know a couple of husband and wife teams that own a business that is a business, and it can exist.
I'm not talking about husband and wife teams that own a business that are genuinely have those skill sets. I'm talking about ones that like it's their day job to work in IT.
Right. Yeah, and they're like doing it on the side as a side hustle that with no intention of ever doing it as
for only them. Like, here's the other thing. If you have a person that's like, oh, my niece does this, but she works as a graphic designer for other people, then that's a solid source. But I'm talking about the one person that's related to you, that's only doing this for you as a favor, as a solo event. I'm like, that's not a,
where I get this a lot is with photographers. Like if I'm working with somebody that needs a photographer, and rather than actually pay a photographer, they're like, oh, my cousin does that. They have a camera. Because everybody thinks they're a photographer.
I thought you were going to say social media.
Oh, that too. Yeah, that happens a lot too.
Because I actually think about the photography thing. Yeah. I guess I've just been so good at surrounding myself with like solid photographers. I haven't had that one in a while, but
I get that one.
That is one.
One. And so then when I recommend like my photographer that I work with, and she's charging, $1,000 for a shoot, which is a great deal because she gives you everything. Like she shouldn't, but she does. And they're like, oh no, my cousin does it. Like they're great photographers. She's a stay-at-home mom and she has a camera. I'm like, okay, great. My rate just went up by like twice because it's going to take me twice as many hours to direct this photographer.
Let's get real, y'all. Yeah. Shout out to all the stay-at-home moms that do photography for multiple people and are genuinely working to be a photographer. Yes to you.
Yes.
But to the one that takes really great selfies of her cat, and her newborn baby, like, no.
Just because you have a DSLR camera does not make you a photographer.
Yeah. Or someone with like a quick shutter time. Like, no.
Yeah.
Makes me shudder.
And you're right. Social media also happens a lot, because
with the millennial generation, they just assume all of them are social media managers, and no.
Yeah. Well, and I think too that because social media in the marketing realm is sort of new, right? Like it's really only like maybe 10 years old. So in the, scheme of advertising and marketing, like it's a baby. Like we're still kind of learning these platforms, and it changes faster than any platform we've ever worked with before. And so I think because of that, for years, nobody actually had the skill because there was none there yet. We didn't know it.
No one knew. So
no one knew.
Right.
So everybody could. And it is getting to a maturity level where there are people out there that this is a skill that you know, you learn, and like there are things to it that make it a skill. And so just somebody that has account, it doesn't make them a social media manager. So
Well, and I'm thinking one of them had invested in someone that, I mean, I would consider like a model influencer. Like she's very gorgeous. A lot of her things, it's not the sex sells, but it kind of is in the sex sells category. But she's about to launch an like I don't know if I'm saying any of this right, but like eco-friendly energy company. I don't personally think the person that, you know, built up social media on looks and content creation is going to be able to scale that market in the same way. I'm not sure, but I would rather put someone that's more in alignment there to get to the right people, because I don't know, that's questionable.
Yeah, I had this at Bookful quite often. So I was the director of marketing, and while my job was really just to drive strategy and then help with like business model of like, okay, this is what the customer needs, this is what the customer wants, like now let's do product development for that, and then I then drive this marketing strategy based on all of that. So like as the director of marketing, I crossed the line a lot because I was the voice of the customer. I crossed the line between product development and business model and like how we ran the business. And so I kind of was centralized in the company. So the actual distribution of the marketing and content creation and distribution and all of that, I had somebody that worked for me.
Totally.
And so social media obviously is a big piece of that. And I would have the owner of the company all the time. He was like, we could just hire a college student to do this. And I'm like, that's not exactly how this works. You know, like, yeah, they are very fluent in social media because they grew up in that life, but that doesn't make them a social media manager for a business.
No, I mean, honestly, if you want to like put it into real terms, then I feel like the college student would be like the VA to the social media manager you would hire.
Right. Like,
their support of the mind.
It actually,
not to knock VAs, like VAs definitely have their own abilities and it's not a knock.
Yeah, it created a lot more work for me.
Hierarchy.
Yeah, it created a lot more work for me.
Yeah, no.
You know, at the end of the day. Now, granted, I ended up with a couple of really great people that worked for me, and definitely younger. And I did hire younger than me that were very fluent in the platforms, more so than even I was, because they grew up with it.
Absolutely.
But I also looked for people that had a college degree in journalism, or like they might not have had experience as a social media manager yet, because they were so young, but they had a background in their education that was in journalism or in business, or so they could bridge the gap there easily.
They had a strategic mind to the skill that you were looking for. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I couldn't hire a social media manager because while, I had a $7,500 a month budget on ads, he wouldn't give me any money for people. So I had to hire young and, right out of college, but I looked very specifically for specific skills.
Yeah. I mean, college students are great also because you can groom them and make them into what you need. And it's like, you know,
I liked that too.
Yeah. There's definitely a reason for young blood, and absolutely.
Well, and I love to mentor. And so like hiring young people was always great for me because that kind of like gave me that little bit of like satisfaction there to be able to mentor, a new college student getting into their career and like teaching them like the ends. Well, and I mean, you're not only teaching them about their job, but then you're like, you kind of have to teach them how to work in an office, like office etiquette, and like that's a whole thing too. Like we work from home, so we don't deal with that. But
I know I'm trying to have you teach it to me because I've never been in agency world, and I don't need it, but some of that structure, while everybody bitches about their 9 to 5, is actually helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And I mean, I wrote a post about this just this week about, we kind of like post things. And I think this is something we called it yesterday on the podcast, was an uncomfortable truth about being an entrepreneur of, we post stuff and you see what we want you to see.
Yeah.
But, like the back end of that is like, that's a beautiful photo and I gave you a great strategy on it.
Absolutely.
But in reality, like, life sucked.
Yeah.
You know, like
Absolutely.
I was at the point where I was like having to decide between a $3 bottle of wine and toothpaste, and the wine won because it has alcohol and your teeth are clean. I mean, you're welcome.
Like, that was a good process. Thank you. I like that one. I love being a visual person. I had you just in the bathroom with like this like decision of like, you know, Lady Liberty of like toothpaste or wine. Boop.
And it wasn't even good wine. It was like cheap
I know.
$3 wine. I mean, you know, like,
You know, I was thinking of that as we wrap up here. One quick story. I'm playfully deciding how much guilt I should apply to myself right now for the state of my kitchen. I have been laughing about this and I brought this up recently. I trashed the thing during the week. I am a very organized person. Everyone knows this about me. I'm not really like a pile maker either. Like I'm very, things have their place. Everything goes in their place. Like not super messy. But man, my dishes get the brunt of me. Like it is like an abused animal or something. I'm not even sure. I would never abuse an animal, but like it's just at least 4 or 5 days there of teacups and bowls. And because it's just, I'm so tired at the end of the day, or I make like a 30-minute lunch. I've had so many Zoom teas. And I was like, this isn't an always thing. Like if I wasn't just barely making it through the day right now, like I clean my dishes. I'm usually the girl that's like clean it, put it into the dishwasher, but right now it's like eat it, put it on the counter, I'll get to it. Like it's a thing. But as you're saying, like the behind the scenes, like yeah, but I have been plowing through projects and creating some of the best results right now, and that does not impact any of that, you know. So it's like it's funny how we all have our things, like toothpaste and wine, guilt about dishes, like what's your thing, you know? And I'm just like, someday soon we will get the house cleaner. That's just, it's not even a thing then. It helps me, it helps them, we're all employed, and amen.
exactly.
Maybe that should be a new prayer. Helps me, helps them.
Yeah, for like now, since we're kind of rebranding Mimosa Hotline, maybe we take these and like we make little affirmations for people, like little affirmation graphics.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Watch out. We'll make an entire deck. We'll have an oracle deck. I know we will. We definitely will.
I follow somebody on Instagram. This is totally a side tangent. I know we're at our hour, but I follow somebody on Instagram that's called Inappropriate Gifts, and they have an oracle deck that's like a fuck this oracle deck. And I'm like, I really need this thing because, you know, you pull a card every day and it's like some totally inappropriate way of saying things. I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of oracle deck that I want.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I love it. So on that note, on that beautiful note, take it if you will, take it if you don't. It's okay. It's the Mimosa Hotline, and we will see you next Thursday, same time.
On our new page.
On our new page. Thank you so much. On the new page, it'll be a Facebook page. We'll put the links here. We'll also be sharing it more and more and more.
We'll probably like, you'll get an invite because we'll do the whole like invite everybody we know.
Oh, that's a good thing. I was gonna be like, how do we get them over there? That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's how we do that. Yeah. Perfect. So you will be in the know. You will not be left out. If you love our episodes, we can't wait to see you there. Heads up, there's lots coming out for you, and we're really excited about it. And we will have show notes up for you in soon. Next few hours, days, whatever. And we talked about long form content and repurposing everything. We got into copy versus content. We talked about the branding process of discovery, creation, integration. We had fun with a lot of off topics too. Those were fun. We talked about my ticks. We talked about my kitchen. We talked about wine versus toothpaste. I mean, just, you know, it was a good show. So we'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye, guys.